Hey Caps fans, this is Justin and Pat here from Caps Goal Line Reviews, and we're sitting here tonight to talk with you guys about the first season of the regular season for the
First
Washington.
season of the regular season?
Oh man, starting this off strong.
Yeah.
Sorry, the first week of the regular season for the Washington Capitals. It's been a pretty good starting week. The Caps, they're starting off 2-0-1, no regulation losses. That's always good to see. We had that shootout loss against the Penguins during the opening night for us. After the Penguins had their cup raising ceremony, all the random festivities that they did to celebrate their victory. Congrats to them. They earned it. But now it's time to move on to the next season. Too bad we could not have gotten a W there in Pittsburgh. That would have been really nice to see.
Yeah, I think, certainly the motivation was on our side. The execution, I think at times we played very well. Second period, there was a lapse there that I think hurt us. Caps overpassing again a little bit. I think actually we saw that in the first three games at times. You'll recall that Barry Trotz said a couple of years ago that we cannot be a pass-first team in a shoot-first league. And I think that we're starting to see that yet again, and at times it creeps in with this team. So, they just need to start shooting the puck a little bit more and stop overpassing. I think they'll be fine. But in that Pittsburgh game, you'll also recall it was a tight game. It was tied late. Marcus Johansson had a chance to win. It was a good poke check by Marc-Andre Fleury. Marcus Johansson had the net open and just couldn't get that shot off to finish that game. And, of course, it goes to a shootout. And, we've got Braden Holtby, who missed most of training camp, with the World Cup of Hockey.
Right.
And most of that time he spent backing up Carey Price. So, he didn't get a lot of time leading up to that. Not an ideal start for him. He struggled a little bit in that shootout. But, hats off to the Caps for getting a point on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, it's also good that we're shaking out the rust and still getting a point because – if you have a less than ideal game and you're still pulling out a point in an overtime loss, I'll take that any day.
Absolutely, against a division rival,
and reigning Stanley Cup champs.
Yes.
Even if they're missing Crosby, it's still nice to take a point out of Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And it's even nicer to follow it up with a win against the New York Islanders. So
during our home opener,
and it was Chimera's first time back in the regular season. Probably a little confused when he had to walk into the visiting locker room and, dress up in the orange and blue. But
well, I was at that game. They did a nice little tribute to him. It was well deserved. I love the guy when he was here, but he was wearing the wrong colors the other night. So of course we're cheering our Caps on, and it was the Daniel Winnick show.
Yeah, that's true. Daniel Winnick and the fourth line, and so this is kind of a pace changer that I wanted to touch on because. If you look at game one, where both of our goals came from the second line, the newly formed Swedish line of Backstrom, Johansson, and Burakovsky. So we've got that line as the second line. Backstrom starting as a second center, with Kuzi being the first string center. But in the first game that we played, our fourth line got about 6 minutes on average of ice time. The only player that got more ice time on that line was Jay Beagle, obviously, because he's on the penalty kill. He's on that special team. But they didn't get much ice time. If you look, the first and second line got about 20 minutes each, and the third line with I'm blanking right now. Who's on the third line? It's
Lars Eller, Justin Williams, and Zach Sanford.
Okay, yeah, that was the lineup for the first two games. Sanford later got pulled, but we'll touch on that later. So they got about 16 or 17 minutes, but the fourth line did almost nothing that entire game. So second game comes around, and on one of their first shifts, the fourth line, they were able to bury a goal, and all of a sudden you see them on the ice more. You see them doing a 4-line cycle instead of a 1-2-1, 1-2-3-4, and then back to 1-2-1 or something like that.
Well, they were taking time and space away from the Islanders, and they had a pretty good puck possession game going on. I think Trotz saw that early on. They were actually generating chances. Of course, Winnick picks up the puck and makes a beautiful move. Hamonic falls down, and he goes in and he does a little side fake, and is able to put the puck in the net and give the Caps regain the lead at 2-1 at that point. But that line was playing really well.
They were, and they've continued to do so into the next game. There's something about them. They've got this gritty element, but it's not just the grit. Obviously, if you've got guys like Winnick and Wilson on the line together, they're going to be gritty. They're two big guys. They're not afraid to throw the body around. You pair that with Jay Beagle, who is fantastic at taking the face off, and is also really good at working the puck around. These guys have some chemistry together. I'm surprised that we're seeing something this special this early on in the season, but what they're doing is working. And even though they weren't responsible for any points in the game last night against the Avalanche, they still had 12 minutes of ice time in that game. So, we're actually able to have four reliable lines that we're cycling through, and that's something that's very special, and I'm very happy to see, because it gives our top string guys more time to rest, and it allows us to better utilize them in positions where we should be utilizing them. Case in point, the power play, which we finally got a power play goal in the third game.
Ovi from the office, it's very reliable, and it was only a matter of time before they broke out. I know that after the first couple of games, people were saying, where's the first line? What's going on with the power play? What's up with Kuznetsov? This first line did very well last night. Of course, Oshie pots two, one on the power play, and then, Ovi, like we said, scored. Kuzi's got an assist. He's going to come around. I'm wearing my Kuzi jersey, by the way. He's going to come around. Kuzi is going to be fine. We'll see. Guys like Tom Wilson need to step it up. We haven't seen a whole lot from him other than, the physical play that we knew he had. But, how can you be a fan of this team and not absolutely love what Jay Beagle is doing? The guy forechecks aggressively. He, with and without the puck, he's out there doing all the little things, the things that don't get a lot of notice, that don't get a lot of press coverage, but they're the little things that you need to do in a game to win. And I love that guy. I think that there are, I'll say 30 other GMs, because now we have George McPhee in Las Vegas out there that would love to have him on their team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in the game last night, you saw him forechecking on the penalty kill, and, he was able to buy another 5 or 10 seconds, and 5 or 10 seconds on a 120-second power play. That's critical. It's crucial. It adds up over time. And he's great at doing all that. And plus, he's one of our fastest guys, one of our quickest too. He's just an all-around hard worker, and I've been nothing but pleased with his performance over the last 3 games. But
absolutely. And let's talk about the game against the Avalanche. A very complete game. I thought the whole team played pretty well. They gave the Avalanche, what did the Avalanche have in the first period? Like 5 shots. They ended with 18 shots.
Yeah. After the first period, the shot totals were 20 Washington and 5 for the Avalanche. So, it was a complete domination the entire game.
Yeah, it was. I think that, they were playing really well in the defensive zone, very well in the neutral zone, very well in the offensive zone. Really liked what I saw. Now I understand. Okay, so the Avalanche, they get this overtime win against Pittsburgh. I think they ended that in a minute or less the night before, and then they come into our building. Maybe we're a little more rested, but I can tell you the Caps just looked solid, and they didn't really give the Avalanche much at all.
No, they didn't. And the Avs were coming off of they probably were tired. They went into extra innings against the Pens. Even though that game was wrapped up very shortly after it went to overtime, the Avalanche scored, I want to say, less than 30 seconds into the overtime without giving the Penguins any possession numbers. But
great deflection by Landeskog.
Wonderful deflection, swiping it out of the air like that over Fleury's shoulder.
Dribble over shoulder.
And then the Penguins went up north after that game. Obviously, It's another situation where it's 2 games in 2 days, but every team has to deal with it. We haven't had to yet, but our time will come. Penguins go up north, and they got shut out by the Montreal Canadiens 4-0. So this is still a Sidney Crosby-less team. Obviously, they're going to look much different. They're going to look much better when he's back. There's that whole cohesion on the first line that you just don't see without him. But the Avs were able to beat a team that we were not able to in. I don't even remember the new. It's not Consol Energy Center anymore. It's P something Paint Arena or something like that in Pittsburgh. But the Avs were able to come into their newly named arena and do what we didn't, and that's win in extra innings. So To say that we're playing an easy team is not true. The Avalanche, they've got guys like Gabriel Landeskog. They've got Nathan McKinnon, who is making a very strong case for himself to be one of the best players in the entire league this year. They've got guys like Matt Duchene. They've got in net. They've got Pickard and Varlamov, and both of them are pretty solid goaltenders. Um, it's not like we dominated a team that is projected that has started off slow or projected to be dead last in the league. We beat a team that we should have beaten, but we beat them by a much more sizable margin.
Well, speaking of Duchesne, I gave him a 3.6. He did not stick the landing on that flip. Just didn't stick it. I'm sorry. You got to do that if you want a higher score. It was a great check by Orlov. It was classic textbook check. It was beautiful.
That was one of the best hip checks I have ever seen. I mean, yeah, that's going to be a highlight reel goal. I'm calling it now. That's going to be in the top 5 hits of the season. There's no way that gets outdone, probably by anyone on the Caps, but it's going to be outdone by very few hits this season. It happened so early on. That was incredible. Duchesne almost landed it though. He came down and he landed on his left skate. But yeah, that was one hell of a hit.
So let's talk one more thing we didn't really talk about, and that is the first shutout of the entire season in the NHL.
That's right. And it doesn't come from the Vezina winner Braden Holtby. It comes from the backup Philip Grubauer.
On Braden Holtby night.
On Braden Holtby night. Braden Holtby, he had a great ceremony beforehand. The Red Rockers and McPhee, or not McPhee. Oh my gosh, Ted Leon just came out and presented the awards to him. What? I know, old habits. They presented the awards to him, and he had his family out there, and they had a nice highlight reel of all the wonderful saves he's made over the last few seasons with us. But it ended up being Grubauer that stole the night. And I mean, I can't complain about that. He played very well, and we played very solid in front of him. On the penalty kill, we did not allow the Avalanche to move inside the zone at all. Every time the puck went to the middle, the puck all of a sudden was cleared down the ice.
Yeah, we played very well in front of him. He played solid, though. Let's not take anything away from him, but it is a team effort. It's a team shutout, and it's a good win to have. And then onward to Florida tomorrow.
Absolutely. And we are facing a very strong Florida Panthers team. They're no joke. I know historically they haven't done too well, haven't made it past the first round of the playoffs, all that stuff. But they're going to wipe the slate clean. They're going to remake a name for themselves. I mean, they've got arguably the best all-around defense in the league with Aaron Ekblad. Very solid defenseman. He can activate offensively. He's wonderful in his own zone. He's a big body. He's great at blocking shots. He's not afraid to use his size. And they've got guys like Alexander Barkov. He is a very young Finnish center. He was drafted, I want to say, 3 years ago, and last season he unfortunately broke his hand very early on. I want to say in late October. It took him out of commission for about 16 games or so, but he came back and he still was able to get 50-something points in the 66 games that he played. I think he got 31 or 28 goals and 31 assists.
That's going to be a tough building to play in all year for any team, really.
It absolutely will be.
It's they're going to be a factor down the line. I think that there are many who are predicting that they will squeeze into a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. I don't think that the talent level matches what the Caps have, but they're certainly going to be a good team and a tough win on the road for the Caps tomorrow night.
I think the talent up front matches what we have. Maybe not the goal scoring, but as far as raw hockey skill goes, I don't think they necessarily have the depth that we have. But they've also got that veteran factor in Jaromir Jagr and Roberto Luongo. Bobby Lou, who's playing like he's 22. He's got the flexibility and agility of a young goalie in the league. He just passed Jacques Plante in most career wins. He's sitting at number 6 of all time, and he is gunning for that number 4 spot by the end of the season. And his teammates are going to do everything in their power to make sure that happens. And obviously, Jaromir Jagr is a very good presence to have. And these are 2 good veterans to have on the same team. Mostly because they've got the experience. They're very skilled. But in the appropriate times, they can be laid back and jovial. There's nothing wrong personally with these two guys, and I mean, you put all that together, and you've got like a scary looking Florida team to play against.
Yeah, I think all the good teams really have that solid veteran in the locker room to try to guide the young guys, and they've got a lot of young talent on that team, and you really need that around the young guys. You need somebody to sit back and kind of put things in perspective. They help you through the tough times, and they also kind of temper you in those good times. There's an old saying that you're never as good as you think you are, but you're also never as bad as you think you are when things are going bad. And I think veterans kind of keep the line even on that with a lot of teams, and so that's going to be a team to watch this year.
Absolutely. Well, that's our first week in review for the 2016-2017 NHL season. We're hoping to come out with a W in BB&T Center tomorrow, and onward from there. So, until next time, let's go
Caps.